Good morning. Somebody asked me the other day, Brother Matthew, what do you think about Christmas? And uh, I used to teach a lot on it, and you can go to my website, ministersnewcovenant.org. Go to the sermon section, and there should be a topical link that says Christmas, and you can click on that, and you can listen to several sermons and lectures that I've given on the subject. I kind of got old and bored with that because it just seemed so obvious to me that the personal friends and disciples of Yeshua never celebrated the wintertime or really any time as the birth of Christ. They knew him. They were the closest people to him. His personal disciples, they probably all celebrated the Feast of Dedication. I'm not talking about celebrating it in the sense as modern Judaism celebrates it today, but they probably all memorialized the Feast of Dedication, in Hebrew known as Hanukkah, which was a memorial of coming out of paganism and back into the worship of Yahweh during the 2nd century BC, when they were able to regain the temple from Antiochus Epiphanes. But none of them celebrated Christmas. It's obvious that Christmas is not a biblical holiday. It is highly unlikely that Yeshua was born at this time of the year. I don't believe anybody knows when he was born particularly. There's debates about that, but it's unlikely he was born in the wintertime, because in Luke 2, the shepherds are out in the field keeping watch over their flock by night. And even the Methodist minister Adam Clark from the 1800s talks about how that during the wintertime it was too cold to keep watch over your flock by night out in the fields. So they would bring them into the stable or the barn and keep watch over them there during the nighttime. And so that's from even a Methodist minister. So I tend to lean towards that he was born in the summertime. I don't have time to go into it in this video as to why. But regardless, the Bible doesn't specify. It doesn't just point out and tell us when he was born. None of the disciples observed it. I do believe that the Christmas tree, I believe that it stems from Asherah worship in the Bible, tree worship in the Bible. And I'm not saying that everybody that puts a tree in their homes is bowing down to it and worshiping it. That's not what I'm saying, so please don't put words into my mouth. But I believe that the practice stems from Asherah worship. It's definitely not something that the early Messianic believers did during the wintertime. Let me see, what else should I say? The Romans, during the time of Christ, celebrated a festival known as Saturnalia. Saturnalia was a festival that centered around the god Saturn, the god of agriculture, and also tied into that was a belief that the sun, the sun, was a deity, and that obviously the winter solstice is the shortest day of the year, and so that's the day of the year when people would begin, or at least around that time, people would be bringing in things into their home, like evergreen things, holly bushes, mistletoe, the cypress trees, because they represented life and fertility, and they wanted the days to get longer instead of remain shorter. I don't have a problem with celebrating the birth of Christ in the sense that we're thankful for it or that we sing about it. I love O Come Emmanuel. I love Hark the Herald Angels Sing. I think those are very biblical songs. I love O Holy Night. I love that song. Truly he taught us to love one another. His law is love and his gospel is peace. Something about chains shall he break, for the slave is our brother. I love the lyrics to these biblical songs about the birth of Christ. There's nothing wrong with singing about the birth of Christ, no more than singing about the life of Christ or the death of Christ or the baptism of Christ or what have you. So I think some people get too far overboard on that line in Messianic Hebrew Roots movement. So I'm almost at 5 minutes now, but no, my family and I, we do not celebrate Christmas. I'm about to go out to work. Today is what's called Christmas Eve. I'm about to go out to work today, and so I'm going to come home and watch some football, later today. I'm a football fan, so I'm, you know, tomorrow's just going to be another day. I may go out to do some work, but we don't recognize it. We don't celebrate it. Once again, the early Messianic believers, the people that actually knew Yeshua, rubbed elbows with him, so to speak. This was not a holy time of the year for them, as far as pertaining to the birth of Christ. This also was not the New Year for them. People talk about, well, we're going to celebrate New Year's Eve and have a New Year's feast and cook black-eyed peas and collard greens. And no, it's not the New Year. It's not the biblical New Year. The New Year is in the spring when everything's coming back to life. Everything's bringing forth green, and so we don't celebrate the traditional New Year's either. Just another day. We try to put all of our emphasis on Yahweh's holy days, Yahweh's feasts, and honor them, and not honor feasts that are a mixture of paganism and the Bible. And so I'm not a jerk about it. I don't go around being a jerk to people that do that and being in your face about it. But if somebody asks me, I explain it to them. And I believe it's important. And so hopefully this video will answer some of those questions I've been asked a few times now this month. Just because I don't talk about it as much as I used to talk about it, but I still feel the exact same way that I felt for the past 20 years or so. So, have a blessed day. Almost at 7 minutes. It's a long video. Sorry I went so long. Be blessed. Talk to you soon. Shalom.